Brady, I don't know what to tell you, man. That ending was what March is all about, especially with you as a resident UNC fan.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know how to wrap words around it. The play just happened not too long ago. UConn stunts Duke in the Elite Eight to take the Final Four ticket to Indianapolis, 73-72. I mean, what a ridiculous game that was.
I didn't really have words. I mean, like, a lot of the time when Duke loses, I'm happy. This particular time, I wasn't as, like, it was mixed feelings because in multiple bracket challenges where I could win $1,000+ and I was in pole position-ish, I was one of the most likely people to win them at this point. I needed Duke to win. However, if it's going to be someone to screw me, I would want it to be them. So it's one of those things where it's like, it's crazy. I mean, what an ending. Well, like, that shot was so pure. That thing didn't even touch anything, but it barely even touched the net. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's almost as poetic of the fact that, you know, Braylon Mullins is a freshman from Greenfield, Indiana, and takes his team back to Indianapolis to play in the Final Four. I mean, that's just unbelievable. I mean, and thinking about how it was mentioned on the broadcast by a friend of the show, Iron Eagle, talking about how Duke had an 18-point lead on Houston last year in the Final Four at, you know, late. It was early in the second half, but the lead evaporated over time. And obviously last year it was just insane to think about how Duke blew that lead. I mean, I think they were up about 8 last year with maybe 2 minutes to go, and Houston ended up winning the game. But you think about it, it almost had that feeling for a second, especially when Solo Ball had the and one layup. We were like, okay, I think UConn might take this one, but then Duke had answers. It was Cameron Boozer had more answers. You know, Sarr, you know, Agangwa, like those guys had answers, but just not enough in the biggest of moments, which is just, you know, you saw it from last year and different people this year, but it was just, it was hard to fathom.
No, 100%. I mean, like, down the stretch of games last year, I think Duke struggled a lot. Like, it wasn't as uncommon. Duke was a better team last year than this year, in my opinion. But, like, whenever the game did get close, they tended to, you know, turn the ball over, all that. This year, that wasn't really the case. I feel like they won close games a lot better. There was obviously some games that, I mean, they lost on 2 buzzer beater threes this year. Out of their 3 games. And then the Texas Tech game was not a buzzer beater, but, you know, go ahead shot with like 20 something left, I think. So they were good down the stretch this year and, you know, all their other games, but Caden Boozer, I can't even imagine what he's thinking right now.
I mean, I don't think about Caden Boozer with the turnover, but think about Cam Boozer. I mean, Cam Boozer was the one that put them up, you know, 3 points going to that final possession and had a heck of a game, you know, one of the leading candidate for National Player of the Year. And for him to think about it, I mean, his brother was the one to make the turnover. I mean, that makes it hit home even more on that front, just regardless of, you know, being teammates. But I mean, that's your brother. I don't know how you pick. That's a tough one to pick up right there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's just a nightmare ending if you're the Boozer family, the way it went down. And, you know, Cam, for me, obviously, like, not liking Duke, this team I didn't really have a disdain for compared. I mean, obviously I don't want them to win, but like I don't think they were very unlikable in comparison to some other years.
There's been many years. I mean, and I've said it before. I root for Duke when they play UNC, and we kind of, like, we're, you know, on different sides of that, but you know, appreciate the rivalry. But there are some players in that Duke UNC rivalry for Duke that you're like, oh yeah, Grayson Allen, JJ Redick. I mean, you go down the list, you already know it.
No, there's a ton. I mean, it's almost. I mean, I could name, like, I'm not going to do it. I could name so many guys, but this year I don't think they really had one. I mean, like, I don't know who the top. Probably Nick Kamenia, but that's just because he's white and all the other ones were white that were hated. I feel like.
I mean, when you chop it up like that, I mean, obviously, you know, everyone knows
for good reason. They were hated for good reason. Like
everyone knows. Yeah, and everyone knows Christian Laettner's the you know, the guy that everyone hates from Duke. Well, you know, they even made a 30 for 30 off of it. So I mean,
I hate Christian Laettner.
Exactly. But and on the UConn side of things, think about what Danny Hurley has done in his time at UConn. This is crazy. I mean, he went back-to-back national championships in 22 and 23, or 23, 24, technically, however you want to put it. Last year, UConn, they were the 8-9 seed. They took Florida down to the wire. And then this year, you think about just a couple of weeks ago, I mean, they played St. John's. St. John's owned them. Everyone's talking about, man, St. John's is clearly the best team in the Big East. And St. John's saw Duke in the Sweet 16. And if St. John's would have won with a St. John's UConn matchup, I don't know how that matchup would have gone. No one knows.
Nobody does, because the last two matchups were polar opposite of each other in terms of the outcome.
Yeah, and here's this. I mean, Duke never fails me. They're the biggest choke stars of all time. They've had moments. They've had a lot of they've had a lot of big choke moments, and that's just keeping it 100% at the time. And staying on UConn, I mean, you look at everybody else, how they kind of filled up the stat sheets. Mullins, Demary Jr., Solo Ball. He wasn't really getting his way early on in the game. And Alex Caravan, he did not shoot well at all, but he made a couple of big shots and made some very big defensive plays throughout the game. But, man, just look at Terrace Reed Jr. I mean, he had a game where he had 27 and 22 in the tournament. I think that was against UCLA. Was it UCLA or Furman, I think? It was one of the first couple tournament games. It was Furman. Yeah, sorry. It was Furman. He had 27 rebounds. He had 31 and 27. He had 10 and 13 against UCLA, 20 and 5 against Michigan State. And then today he had 26 and 9 and had 4 blocks. I mean, this is an unbelievable performance. 6'11" senior from St. Louis, Missouri. I mean, just he I don't say put the team on his back, but man, this guy, for being a big guy in the paint, he has got some of the best footwork I've seen in a long time.
Oh, for sure. No, he's a beast. Like, I've seen some mock drafts that have like Patrick Gongba going in the first round and not him. I don't really understand. Like, that's just for an example. Like, how is he not getting more consideration when he's the same size and it just seems like a better player?
I didn't mean to cut you off there, but it just doesn't. When you look at it, I don't know if it seems like Terrace Reed just seems like he's like an undersized big, but he's not. He plays crafty. That's why I think it feels like he might be. It seems like he could be an undersized big, but he plays so crafty. His footwork, he's deceptive as a big guy, which is not usually the case. A lot of big guys these days, you think about, okay, we're going to step out, shoot the three here and there, going to go in the post, maybe one dribble, jump hook. I'm going to kind of hang below the block, and then it's just going to be a lob or a drop off and dunk it. That's kind of what you think about when it comes to a big guy. You got to handle the ball, all that stuff. But you never really think about that, that efficient footwork down low to try to create your own shot and set things up. And Terrace Reed Jr. is one of the best, if not the best, big men in the country like that on a national stage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's just gotten better every year. Like, people forget, like, he was on that Michigan team that won 8 games a couple of years ago, and Amari Burnett was on that team. And I mean, that team had some good players, but he wasn't the same Terrace Reed as he is now. And I'm not sure. Do you know who Terrace Reed started over in high school? They're the same age, and this guy never started.
Who?
Felix Okpara.
Really? And that's a great segue into the earlier game. You brought up Michigan. You brought up Felix Okpara from Tennessee, and unfortunately, us Buckeye fans overall at Michigan. I mean, you got a spade, and Michigan. I mean, their team is just they are so good. Yeah. They really are. When you slice up everything the right way, they are so good. They're
probably the best team in the country.
And again, I was thinking, I think Charles Barkley said this, in between the two games. He was like, okay, I'm called the Arizona Invitational and stuff, but Michigan's the second best team in the country. But it's like, those are the two best teams in the country they're going to be facing off on Saturday night. I mean, that, like, what you're going to see in that game, Yaxel Lendenborg, Mara, I mean, the collection of big guys that Michigan has, and then Arizona with Kriva. We'll talk more about that matchup in a little bit, but man, Michigan, I mean, they just dominated from start to finish, and I think at one point they were up like 30. I mean, it was just a complete slaughter fest today.
That was just a mismatch. I mean, that just wasn't a close game at all.
Yeah.
Tennessee never really moved me this year. Now, they've obviously had a good tournament. They made the Elite Eight.
Yeah. 3 years in a row. On top of that, 3 years in a row they've done that. And I think
they have.
And the last time, and I'm throwing a nugget in, the last time that a team did that 3 years in a row and not make the Final Four was Florida back in 2011, 12, and 13. They did the exact same thing, didn't make a Final Four.
With future UNC head coach possibly Billy Donovan at the helm.
Crazy. It's insane.
But no, I mean, this is going to be a big time matchup, as you said. Michigan, like, they've had their times where they've looked beatable, obviously, and everybody's beatable. There's no team that's, completely overwhelming compared to the rest. But when they play like they do today, it's pretty hard to beat them. When they're moving the ball around, getting wide open threes. I mean, you're screwed when, like, Adai Mara or Elliot Cadeau or Morris Johnson starts hitting threes. Like, that's when the game's over.
Yeah.
Because, all the other guys, like Namari Burnett's a good shooter. Trey McKinney's a good shooter. Yaxel hits wide open threes very well. I've noticed, particularly this past month or so. I think his 3-point percentage has gone up. But they're just huge. I mean, you got Yaxel, Morez Johnson, and Adai Mara just protecting the rim at all times.
Yeah.
You can throw lobs to all three of them, which is really Elliot Cadeau's specialty. That's probably his best attribute, is his ability to throw lobs.
And you know him quite well. I mean, like, from last year, in terms, he averaged 9.4 points a game, nearly 6.5 assists. Is there anything you've seen different in his game this year? Any growth from 2 years at UNC to this year at Michigan?
I think that this year, he's about the same as he was his freshman year, and I'll explain that. So last year, and it's not necessarily his fault. I think he's really good and really effective when you have lob threats and shooters around him. He ends up being one of the more effective point guards in the country because he's a really good passer in that sense. He knows how to find guys. He's just natural at it. He can find guys when they're open, but he's not. Like last year, UNC, we had one shooter, but he's doubled. It was RJ Davis. There was no lob threat. Our starting center was 6'8", Van Allen Lubin, and he just was frustrating a lot of the time. But 2 years ago, Elliott as a freshman, I think Elliott was faster 2 years ago than he was now. He's gained some weight, which is fine. I mean, he can play more physical now. But he was really good. He led us to a 1 seed. Well, not led, but, was a starter on a 1 seed, had Armando Baycott and Harrison Ingram, all those guys that can shoot, Cormac Ryan, guys that can shoot threes, guys that can catch lobs. And now he's got that again. And, Michigan fans, I think decently highly of him for the most part. So, Elliott, not a bad player, but you do want your point guard to be able to shoot a little better than he can, but he actually has shot the ball decently well this year. I'll say that's shoots it a little better.
Yeah, he was 1 for 2 today from 3, 8 points, 10 assists. And you think about Cadeau, you think about Namari Burnett, who's also been a veteran in college basketball. Roddy Gale, who transferred from Ohio State to Michigan, has been a good guy off the bench, played 22 minutes today and had 8 points. So, I mean, Michigan's just deep. Adai Mara is a passer. I mean, one of the best big passers that we've seen in a minute. I mean, and that's where it helps when you've got, such a, great facilitator of the basketball as a guard, but then you have such a great facilitator of the ball as a big at 7 feet tall. I mean, there's so much that you can do around your offense that Dusty May has been able to accomplish at Michigan. And it's just, year two. I think everyone knew that Dusty May was like, wherever this guy goes at his neck as a big stop, I mean, they're going to be a good team. And he has built something really well at Michigan.
No, for sure. I mean, roster construction has been the most impressive part of his, of his Michigan tenure so far. I mean, just like not all these guys were like big transfers. Like obviously Yaxel, he's the exception. He was #1 transfer. Not surprising. He's a good player, but like Morez Johnson did not start at Illinois. Adai Mara didn't put up crazy numbers in the least at UCLA. And then Elliot Cadeau came off a year where he was kind of forced out in a sense. Like it was not like a really, we have to keep you. thing at North Carolina. So, but Dusty May knew exactly how to build around him.
Yep.
And that was it was a great offseason for Michigan in terms of building this roster. And Dusty loves to play big. That's obvious at this point because, last year they had Danny Wolf and Vlad Golden. And then you come back this year and, he gets Adai Mara and then 2 6'9" forwards that play bigger than they really are a lot of the time.
Yep.
I feel like that's kind of his the way he's going to go about things for probably his whole tenure there, which is probably smart. I mean, next year they're going to return Trey McKinney and Elliot Cadeau probably to be their 2 guards, and then Portal for the next 3, and I'm sure they'll be good again.
Yep. Find a way. And that was Michigan's first Final Four appearance since the 2017-18 season when they lost in the national championship to Villanova, led by the Dante DiVincenzo game. But off that, last night, the nightcap, it looked like it was going to be Purdue's. Purdue shot 50% from 3 in the first half. They were shooting the basketball very well. They were very efficient. But, man, Arizona, when they punch you in the mouth, it hurts. And they were able to just gather themselves throughout the second half. I mean, they were down, I think they were down 38-31 at half. And then doing, quick math, 48 points Arizona scored in the second half. 48-26 was your second half score. The Wildcats, I mean, they come at you a different way. They got shooters. They got bruisers inside. They've got really good guard play. They've got pretty much everything that you can ask for. And Tommy Lloyd has done such a great job with this Wildcats team. First Final Four appearance in over 25 years.
Yeah, I mean, they're impressive. They probably had the best regular season of any team in terms of just like playing a pretty hard schedule, winning games, and just, looking good. I mean, of course, Duke and Michigan, I don't remember if Michigan or Arizona was the number 2 overall seed, but I know Duke was the number 1 overall seed. But Arizona at the beginning of the year, they were the number 1 team for a while.
Yeah.
And, the natty favorite at the time was either them or Michigan, but they're very complete. They play hard. They've got good players at every spot. They don't really have a hole in their roster. Like Jaden Bradley won Big 12 Player of the Year. He's a really good defender. He can score, but he doesn't need to score like 20. Like, I think he only averages 12 or 13. He averages like 13 points a game. But I mean, Koa Pete as a freshman is a great player, but I mean, Tommy Lloyd's doing a really good job at Arizona. And I just think that I don't know. That'd be a really hard game to pick.
It really, and again, that you're talking about your freshman, Braden Burries, 16.1 points per game. Koa Pete, 14.1 points per game. And to your point, Jaden Bradley, I mean, 13.3 points a game, 4.4 assists, a very good defender. I mean, you just look at how this Arizona team is built. They've got, Toby Awaka comes off the bench. He averages 9 points a game as well as a reserve big. That dude is in 9 points a game and 9 rebounds. And I mean, I remember some of these guys, Anthony Del Orso from last year, Awaka as well, Krivas, the center. I remember Henry Vesar now with North Carolina Krivas and Vesar were in the same room last year, which is ridiculous to think about. Look how good Vesar was at North Carolina this year. And Krivas with 10.4 points a game and 8.2 rebounds. Those two, it's iron sharpens iron. But when you think about it on the Purdue side of things, Purdue, think about the guys that have been there for 4 years. Think about that. Their backcourt, Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer, and you go with Trey Kaufman-Wren. Those guys have been a part of a lot of great things at Purdue and some of the most nightmare moments possible. Their freshman year, they lost to a number 16 seed, Fairleigh Dickinson. FDU believe it. We couldn't. No. Then the following year, they almost had the biggest rebound of all time, like Virginia did after they lost to a 16 seed UMBC back in the day. And then they end up winning the national championship. But Purdue makes it all the way to the final game, loses to UConn. All right. They come back the following year. They play in the Elite Eight against Houston last year. So actually, they played in the Sweet 16 against Houston. But again, it's the road that Purdue's been on, and they won the Big Ten this year. They won the Big Ten tournament. So all over the place, from Purdue being a 1 seed back then and now having to kind of find their way a little bit over the last few years. They've had a lot of success. Yeah, they really have, and they've
been through it all.
They truly have. They've been through it all. They've you're talking about losing to a 16 seed, going to the national championship the following year, losing a tight one against Houston in the Sweet 16 last year, and now you had a chance to go back to the Final Four in Indianapolis, just about an hour away from the university. So, I mean, we saw the great players of Purdue had a great first half, but then the gas just ran out yesterday.
Yeah. Arizona was too much.
But think about it. The Braden Smith, the all-time assist leader in college basketball history. I mean, they've Purdue in the past, they've changed the narrative about them where it's like, you know what? It's Purdue. They're a good basketball team. They're not going to make it that far in the tournament.
Yeah.
They're not. But now, I mean, over the last 3 years, they've made it to the second weekend of the tournament, the third weekend, a couple years back. So the narrative has changed under Purdue with Matt Painter, who's been there for a very long time. And obviously yesterday stings. It sucks for them. But truly, I think it'll be interesting to see how they build next year and where they look to. But you know, I was looking forward to see if Purdue could break through yesterday, but Arizona, like you mentioned, tough match.
I'm with you. I mean, they definitely have broken out of that curse to where they're losing the double-digit seeds every year, and people saying Matt Painter, is a bad coach. I mean, people now they know. I mean, Purdue can win a national championship. Now, it's going to be hard, obviously. Not the greatest resources. I mean. This team was built off of guys that were 4 stars that just turned out to be better players than they were projected to be, like Braden Smith, Trey Kaufman-Renn. Fletcher Lawyer had his best year in terms of hitting the right shots at the right time. I feel like in the past, I don't know if they trusted it. He didn't really deliver in big moments, in my opinion, but this year he has every single time I've watched Purdue play in a big game. So, I was actually at that Big Ten championship, Michigan-Purdue. I've seen Michigan play twice in person this year, Big Ten championship, and then at Ohio State. Actually saw Yaxel Lindeborg at Waffle House at 10:30 p.m. the night before the game. So,
that still finds a way. That's very. He still finds a way though, but that's I mean, it just shows. I mean, Michigan they can do a lot of that team, but wow. And then speaking of the Big Ten, I mean, we saw. I want to say, I don't know how I should put this. A Big Ten regional yesterday, Iowa, Illinois. I mean, just think about it, man. Bennett Sturtz. I mean, what we thought. I mean, he started off that game so hot yesterday, and he had such a great tournament. I mean, again, Iowa was able to take down Florida, number one seed in the region. But man, I mean, looking at what Iowa did for 4 games, Ben McComb's their coach. That was a heck of a run, but Illinois, I didn't think that Illinois was going to make the Final Four. I mean, I knew they were a good basketball team and everything. They were kind of, stretches where it was like, but then they were good, but they were kind of a hard team to judge. I know they're 28-8. Don't get me wrong, okay, but the freshman Keaton Wagler. I mean, come on, man. I mean, that's been the entire thing this year is the freshman running college basketball. It is at an abundance this year.
Yeah, it's probably the best freshman class in 10 plus years, in my opinion. I just think, somebody said that usually in years past, the team to win the national championship usually isn't led by freshmen, but that's clearly possible at this point. I mean, Keaton Wagler, Illinois, the best player on the team. Mm-hmm. Arizona, I wouldn't say a freshman's their best player, but you could make the argument. You could make the argument for either of them if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean, Jaden Bradley won the award, but Duke obviously could have won it. Cam Boozer leading them. This year, a lot of freshmen were really good.
Mhm.
Obviously, like you said, Caleb Wilson at UNC, which ruined my day when I found that injury.
Yeah.
I know about that injury, but that's gone. That's past. But yeah, no, it was a year. It was a year for the freshmen.
And on top of that, I'm looking at Illinois. One guy I really like is off the bench, and Andrei Stojakovic. Peja Stojakovic
Oh
is
yeah,
dude, he is really good. Like, I mean,
yeah.
I know he played at Cal last year, but I mean, the dude's a baller. I mean, and I think he does a really good job of controlling the pace of the game. He's not afraid to finish over Tapia, fly above the rim and everything else, but he is very crafty. He's such a great resource off the bench. I mean, averages double figures a game. He's a great, kind of, playing that second fiddle with Keaton Wagler. But at the same time, I mean, you need him to go get a bucket. He can go find a way to get a bucket, man. It's, it's been fascinating to watch him play and kind of play at his own pace.
Yeah, he's a stud. He's been the big reason they're still in this tournament. I actually would have had the Final Four all right if Duke would have won today, because I actually did have Illinois winning that region. But like I said, if anyone was going to screw my bracket up, I'd want it to be Duke, I guess. But
one way or another,
man,
it's crazy how it works. But yeah, briefly, I know there's still 6 days until the Final Four hits. Just over in Indy, not too far from here. But we look at the matchups. Your 6:09 matchup, UConn versus Illinois. Obviously, we just saw UConn literally less than an hour ago, and able to make that big time comeback. When you think about it, on the Illinois side of things, Brad Underwood finally makes a Final Four. Illinois breaks through for the first time in 20 years. Last time they made it this far, they lost the national championship to UNC.
Yeah.
On the flip side for UConn, not necessarily with this team, although Alex Karabam was on the two teams that won those national championships. Danny Hurley, I mean, he has found a way to get these teams to the big game. Obviously, the second year they won it, they were the best team by a mile. They were, but
one of the best teams I've ever seen, even probably.
I mean, that was unbelievable. But on top of it, I mean, 3 Final Fours in 4 years and won 2 national championships with a possibility to win 3 out of 4. I mean, what's something you're looking forward? Not even like in the game, just like one person or something that really catches your eye, just at a glimpse.
I would say I'm excited to watch Terrace Reed again against Illinois' bigs.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good matchup, an exciting matchup to watch. UConn, Illinois, Final Four. It's interesting. I don't know. It's not, obviously it wasn't expected necessarily, but no, that's a fun game. I mean, obviously the other game's going to be looked at a little bit more. I mean, that's a titanic matchup, but I'm excited to see that matchup. And Dan Hurley is going to be animated as usual on the sidelines. It would be hard to commit to play for him because he's insane, but obviously he's probably the best coach in the country. I mean, can't really argue it at this point. 3 Final Fours in 4 years, 2 national championships, might win a third. He's a stud.
I agree. And looking at it, I mean, these two teams played each other just earlier this year. UConn came up on top 74-61 over Illinois. In that game, it was Kylan Boswell that scored 25 points for Illinois. And looking at Keaton Wagler, they held him to 3 points, played 14 minutes.
Really? I actually I don't remember that.
I don't remember that game either. I mean, it was I think it was on Black Friday, I believe. So again, a lot of football going on, and then on the side for UConn, it was a solo ball that led the way with 15 points, and it looks like Malachi Smith had himself 14. So you think about it, and we saw this matchup in the Elite Eight a couple years ago, and UConn just, I mean, they destroyed them. But again,
that was a beating.
That was, I mean, again, that was the UConn team that absolutely nobody was going to stop. So a little bit different of a matchup, we'll say. We'll see that matchup coming up here on Saturday, the first game of the Final Four, and the one with the heavyweights with, I mean, Michigan and Arizona. I mean, that would have been a heck of a national championship matchup, but we'll see it at 8:49 on Saturday. What's one thing you're looking at in that?
Man, honestly, it's hard to even point to one for that one.
It is.
I would go Dusty May and Tommy Lloyd in terms of who's going to advance in their coaching career, because neither of them have made a natty, and both of them will be in pole position to win it all, whoever wins. So one of them's kind of going to become low key a legend, and not they're already both established coaches. Everyone knows they're good coaches, but the winner of this game probably will win it all. So, yeah, I guess just looking at that, and also being a Carolina fan, Tommy Lloyd is very high in the odds as a possibility. So them losing would definitely help Carolina possibly hire him, because if he wins a natty, he probably won't leave. So that's kind of my thoughts in terms of what I'm looking for.
And it's a very interesting way to put it, and it's a legit way to process that. My way, I want to see Krivas versus Mara. I want to see how those two play against each other. Who's going to own the block? Who's going to be able to step out inside 15 feet and try to make a way? Who's going to be able to get to find these guards on some cuts? Who's protecting the rim? Just so many different ways. I think the big people in general, it's going to be interesting. And I'm intrigued to see how they guard Yaxel Lindenborg. That's another thing, because I don't think Yaxel's going to really find his way inside, especially if they throw someone like Toby Awaka on him, because that dude is a mountain. He is a brick wall, so in terms of rebounding. So I'm just going to be intrigued how everyone over about 6'8" plays this game. I'm excited to see. We're going to see a heavyweight fight, especially in that second game. We'll have some more previews throughout the week, and you'll see some more shows from us here on the Cut to the Chase Sports Podcast. But just wanted to hop on and just react to this great Elite Eight weekend. But with that being said, that's Brady King and Chase Younts. We'll see you guys next time on the Cut to the Chase Sports Podcast.
Peace.